Black Ram 313 back at it again because you know this is Therapeutic Man. Back again with another video. The title of this video is The Making of a Simp. This serves as part 2 to a previous video done a while ago called A Strumpet's Tale, a short story. Now this video is a short story about the life and the making of a simp. We began this story, a story about a boy named Dation. We'll call him Tion for short. But we'll begin this story before his conception, with his mother of 18 years old at the time, still in high school, named Lakeisha. Now, Lakeisha found herself being fond of a guy in her neighborhood who once attended her high school, but had dropped out years ago. Enter Dante, a guy who is no punk, always willing to fight, or as they say, pull out his heater. This guy is full of swag. He owns his own business at the age of 19. In fact, he's one of 3 owners of a block, also known as a neighborhood street corner. He specializes in pharmaceutical sales, if you know what I mean. He's a very popular guy on whom they say, and I quote, his name is always ringing in the hood. This is due to his many involvement in many beefs and dramas in the neighborhood. He is said to be very much about that life. He saw Lakeisha one day, and they developed a friendship. She one day then realized that she was in love with Dante after he had bought her a pair of Jordans that matched his. She said to herself that she is in love with him due to his swag and his thoughtfulness, his thoughtful gifts. She often felt that Dante put her first, just as her mother had told her that a guy that is into her surely would, putting her first. In time, she ended up pregnant by Dante. But before his son Tion was born, Dante had to handle a beef over the block and ended up in the penitentiary, sentenced to 55 years on a first degree. Lakeisha in the beginning would often take little Tion to see his daddy for the first year of his incarceration. But after meeting a new guy with more swag than Dante on the block, she fell in love again and ended up pregnant, which is now Tion's sister. As little Tion grew and became a teenager, having 4 more siblings with different fathers, 1 brother, and 3 sisters, he then began to witness that the various fathers of his siblings became as scarce in the lives of his siblings as his own father had become, partly due to his incarceration. Tion didn't like seeing his mom go to work. And though his mother through the years would have numbers of boyfriends, none of them stayed around. So finally at age 15, young Tion asked his mother, stating, "Hey, why aren't you married?" His mom replied in a very loud voice, "Because none of these men want to do right." She then began to expound and tell Tion about his no-good father. She then recounted that before she fell in love with his father, that there was a boy in her class who was very smart, but quiet, and as she described, dressed like a lame. This guy was named Marcus, whom she saw recently on Facebook, who now in his 30s owned a trucking company with about a fleet of 40 vehicles. She then said See, I had a chance with him. He should have been your daddy. But then stated that he was too nice and quiet. And then she fell in love with Tion's dad, Dante. But she mentioned that it was not her fault. She just followed her heart, fell in love with Dante, and little Tion came about. Tion then understood that it was not his mom's fault that men are no good and that she is single. Tion decided that day that he was going to be a good man, meaning a good provider for any woman in his life when he got older. His mom would often say to him, which became his favorite saying when she'd give him dating advice. And the favorite saying was this, as she would always tell him, end quote, "When you realize a woman's worth, you will always put her first." As Tion aged into his adult years, he realized that he was often told that he was too nice. Therefore, he didn't have much personal dating experience. But this wasn't a problem for young Tion, because women always complimented him on how nice he was. And he was never lonely because he had so many platonic female friends. He'd often frequent the malls with these female friends as well as restaurants. In fact, his female friends were so comfortable with Tion that they would often tell him all of the gritty and dirty details about their boyfriends. And some of his female friends were even so comfortable with him and saw him so much as a good friend that they would often tell him when they were menstruating. And a few of them he would even know when they were late coming on. They always told Tion that one day he'd make a great husband. And a few of his female friends even said to him that once they were much older and ready to settle down, that he would make an excellent candidate to be their husband in the future, of course. Although Tion was no virgin, through the years, he was never in a serious relationship. But again, never lonely due to the abundance of so many female friends. He even preferred female friends to guy friends, as he thought that most men were dogs and only sought to use women. That these men would only take advantage of the good hearts of his female friends, just as many selfish men did to his mother and his sister and female friends. He would often warn females about the dirty nature of men. He did not enjoy keeping company with such pigs. Tion was much better than the average man, so he thought. Now, as an adult, Tion began to work as an elevator technician. He'd have some side jobs doing electrical work. He often saved his money and lived on a budget. Now, at the age of 32, Tion was determined now, because he got himself together in his mind, he was determined now to have a serious relationship. And this is what he set out to do. In the beginning, he dated many women in their early 20s, but often after providing a great first date with flowers, cards, and candy, expensive dinners, doing all the chivalrous things such as opening doors for them. After these dates, he would often humbly ask them for a second date, but never really heard from many of them again, except for a few times when they asked for favors, and many of them wanted to be just friends. Tion thought within himself that maybe now older women would be more mature and much more experienced, therefore a better choice for him. So he changed his dating strategy and decided to seek after women above age 35. And even women with children, as he reasoned that a woman with a child would be much better, a much better woman, more mature, more nurturing, more responsible, and more than anything, more appreciative of a man like him, because he will be able to provide financial support and moral support and emotional support for these aged women with children. He would be able to help them and provide for a ready-made family. Enter Trina, a 36-year-old single mom of 4. Now, for the details of Trina's background, see the video, A Strumpet's Tale. But Trina, standing at about 5'4" and about 184 pounds, Trina reminded Tian of his own mother. Tian, now motivated to be the type of man that his mother deserved, to become the man that Trina deserved, to become the man that all women deserved. He began to date Trina, spoiled her, and pledged his allegiance to her early on after the second date. He would often buy Trina many trinkets, not only flowers, cards, and candy, but jewelry and planned trips for them. He often and also pledged allegiance to her, and that he fully accepted the package deal of her 4 children by different men. In fact, this made him a very happy man because he has an instant ready-made family. Now, to Tian, having this ready-made family gave him ambition, gave him drive, gave him purpose. He felt needed. He felt wanted. This gave his life value, to have a ready-made family that needed his guidance, his support. And although Trina had a hysterectomy and could not have any more children and could not bear his children, as he was childless, he decided to view her children as his own and to take full responsibility for each of them. So he worked hard to provide the video games, the clothes, the shoes, the bikes, and all of the necessities for her kids. I mean, his kids. Don't you dare call them stepkids. In his mind, those children are his. Blood, biology doesn't mean a thing. Now, Tian found his happiness in making Trina happy and being her supporter and helping her and her children. As his favorite saying goes, that once you realize a woman's worth, you will always put her first. Tian now, in his mind, was a real man. It felt good. He became a real protector, a real provider. Finally. Now, as the years went past, Tian found that Trina's children started to grow a disdain for him. Hearing phrases, "You are not my father," when he would try to enact any sort of discipline or give any suggestion as what they should do with their lives. He was only looking out for their protection, yet and still, they developed a disdain. And Trina herself also, after a few years, became bored with Tian. She reasoned in herself, sure, he's a great provider. Sure, he takes care of the kids. Sure, he's reliable. But she still would often complain, in fact, complain to him, saying that he was way too nice and that he had no backbone. Now, puzzled by this, Tian thought that being nice was a good thing, that him being understanding to Trina was a good thing. This really puzzled him. He didn't understand how Trina could want him to be any different, or that how he could make her happy, or happier, or even happy again. So he reasoned in himself to buy her even more gifts and give her more compliments. This worked in his favor temporarily, but she still grew weary of him. She became tired of Tion. Therefore, Tion could sense this, and he had a bright idea. A great idea. He decided that he will work even more so. Since she is tired of him, he would take the extra time that he had and focus on making extra cash. And he had a grand idea to make Trina happy. He thought to himself, maybe I'll buy her a brand new car and surprise her with it. So he'd often work 16-hour days, and sometimes even on a weekend, to save up all his nickels and dimes. This felt good to Tion because he reasoned that as a man, that he should sacrifice for the happiness of his woman. Now, once Tion met his financial goal, his savings goal, he no longer needed such long hours. Exhausted, he decided to scale back, for he was ready to make that big purchase, to surprise Trina, to show her how he felt about her and what he had sacrificed for her, to make her even more comfortable. So one day, coming home from work, he noticed, as in other days, that Trina would often spend the majority of her time outside the house once she got off work. Days went past and he noticed the same pattern. He'd get off work because he no longer needed the part-time work and the part-time hours. So he'd get off work and Trina was hardly ever at the house. Alarmed and worried, Tion's first thought was about her safety. He didn't understand why she was always out. So Tion would call Trina often several times throughout the evening, worried. But he reasoned in himself that she's strong and independent and that she can take care of herself. He also thought that who is he to be concerned and question about her whereabouts? Although he feared her safety, he viewed her as a grown woman who didn't need to be looked after. So he began to just look past her absences. However, Trina still grew even more distant and spent much time away from him, even though he surprised her with the nice car that he bought. Cash, no notes. Noticing this distance, feeling this distance, Tion became rather lonely and thought of other ways to appease and please Trina. However, all his attempts fell not only on deaf ears, but was an exercise in futility. So finally, the day came when Trina told him. She told Tion that it was time to move on. She also mentioned to him that most of her time away from home was being spent with another man. In fact, a much younger man. She mentioned that this man made her feel much younger, made her feel alive, vibrant, and excited, made her feel young. And at the ripe old age of 42, the younger man of just 24 years old, she told him he had plenty of swag and great sex. Tion was often too tired to please Trina because of his long hours. Trina, one who was already very hard to satisfy in the bed due to her wide variety of previous sexual experiences. Tion was eventually dumped by Trina. Trina soon moved the young guy in, and the same young guy was often seen around town driving the car that Tion had bought for Trina. Saddened, even many months later, Tion decided to write Trina a letter for closure. The letter said, stating this, and I quote, "I realize now that I was not good enough for you. I wanted to make you happy, Trina, but I failed. I should have had a better job, to spend more on you, and to have more time with you, to be at home more to please you." Tion stated that I was always told that once you realize a woman's worth, you will always put that woman first. Tion stated that you were not only just worth my best, but Trina, you were worth my all. I'm glad to have been a part of your life. I'm glad to have had the honor to help you raise your children as though they were my own. I'm glad that you're happy, Trina, even if it's not with me. You deserve so much more than I or any man could ever give. Just remember that I will always be here for you, Trina. I'll always be there for the kids as well. And although that they are older now and they don't talk to me much, I will still be there. I'll still send them birthday gifts. I'll still send them Christmas gifts. And I even plan to help out your oldest daughter, Latrice, because I know she just started college. By the way, I sent Latrice, your oldest daughter, $400 when I got paid last week. And if you need anything from me at all, Trina, if the children need anything at all from me, Trina, I will always be there for you. Always. Love, Tion. To this day, Tion is still single. No offspring from his own loins. 2 years after the breakup from Trina, he now frequents dating sites like Plenty of Fish and Tinder. And he is said to have been spending over $700 per month on dinner dates, often without a call back or even a second date. Now, Tion still enjoys an abundance of platonic female friendships. He takes confidence in those friendships and believes that he's a great catch because he has so many female friends, and he feels as if he understands women greatly. Tion also has since become a student of comedic science, also known as a hotep. But Tion still attends church because he's always been told and always thought that real men love Jesus. He often is on Facebook and other social media outlets as a meme warrior, posting and reposting things about the greatness of his beloved queens and goddesses. Tion also can be seen in the comment sections of videos like mine and throughout the manosphere, making such statements such as, "You must want to date other men. You need to step up and take responsibility for your community. You are not strong enough to deal with a real queen. Your mama black." And his favorite saying of all, "Once you realize a woman's worth, you will always put that woman first." Tion's motto. Don't be like Tion. Like the video, subscribe, and if you'd like to donate, A link to the PayPal account will be in the description box. And until next time, stay well and stay red pill. This has been the making of a simp. A Simp's Tale, Part 2 to a Strumpet's Tale. Black Ram 313, out.